Hey everyone, welcome. So have you ever wondered how you get from just writing code to making sure that code actually, works perfectly out in the real world? Well, if that's you, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to lay out the entire roadmap to becoming a DevOps engineer. Trust me, these are some of the most in-demand professionals in tech right now. So, you ready? Let's dive in. So let's start with a question. Think about it for a sec. What happens after a developer finishes writing a piece of code? Who are these unsung heroes that make sure it runs flawlessly every single time, no matter what? Well, that's where the magic of DevOps comes in. So here's how we're going to break it all down today. We'll kick things off with what DevOps even is and what an engineer actually does. Then we'll get into why this is such an amazing career path. After that, we'll jump into the real meat of it, the step-by-step roadmap and your career map. And finally, we'll wrap up by looking at the journey ahead. All right, first things first, what in the world is DevOps? At its core, it's all about bridging this historic gap in the tech world. The gap between the folks who write the code and the folks who manage the servers and networks it all runs on. Let's dig a little deeper into what that really means. Now, this definition is super important. DevOps, right? It stands for development and operations. But it's not just a tool you buy or a job title. It's really a cultural shift. The whole idea is to smash those traditional walls between developers and the IT operations teams. Why? So you can build, test, and release software way faster and more reliably. It's all about collaboration and, honestly, just getting stuff done.
So, okay, if DevOps is the culture, then who makes it all happen? That brings us to the DevOps engineer. You can think of them as the architects of automation.
A DevOps engineer is basically the bridge that connects all the technical teams. Their main job is to automate the entire process of delivering software. This means they're handling things like continuous integration and continuous delivery. You'll hear that called CI/CD all the time, which is just about automating how code gets tested and released. They also manage something called infrastructure as code, which we'll talk more about in a bit. Plus, they set up all the monitoring and logging, and this is a big one. They build security right into the process from the very start. That's a whole thing called DevSecOps. Okay, so we get it. The role is critical. But why should you think about doing this? Well, let's talk about the rewards of this journey, because honestly, they're pretty significant. Let's just get right to it. The money. The earning potential here is, well, it's huge. We're talking average salaries that are easily into the six figures. And for experienced folks, yeah, you're looking at over $180,000 a year. That puts DevOps engineers right up there with the highest paid people in the entire tech industry. Seriously. And it's not like these jobs are rare. The demand is absolutely exploding. We're seeing these roles grow by over 35% every year, which is just way faster than most other jobs in IT. This isn't some niche thing anymore. It's becoming a core requirement for pretty much any modern tech company. So why the crazy growth? Well, it's directly tied to another massive trend. The move to the cloud. With something like 90% of companies now using cloud services, the old school ways of managing servers they don't cut it. You absolutely need DevOps practices and the people who know them to manage this new dynamic world. All right, let's get to the heart of this thing, your path to mastery. This is the actionable step-by-step guide to get you where you want to go. We've broken this whole journey down into 6 clear stages. You're going to start with the fundamentals, then master essential tools like Linux and Git. From there, you'll dive deep into automation with CI/CD and IAC, and then conquer containers and the cloud. Finally, you'll layer on monitoring and security, and then prove you know your stuff by building projects and getting certified. Look, every great building needs a solid foundation, right? You don't have to be some coding genius, but you absolutely have to understand the basics of programming. Python and shell scripting are fantastic places to start. You also need to know the software development lifecycle, or SDLC, and things like the agile methodology. And of course, version control with Git is a must. And now we get to the core of it all, automation. Think of CI/CD as the central nervous system of software delivery. Tools like Jenkins automate that whole journey, from a developer's keyboard all the way to a live customer. And then there's infrastructure as code, IAC. This is a total game changer. Imagine, instead of manually setting up servers one by one, you just write a script, like a recipe, that describes your entire setup. Then, using tools like Terraform, you can create or update your entire infrastructure with a single command. It's like having a blueprint for your system that's versioned, automated, and perfectly repeatable. Containers really did change everything.
You'll need to learn Docker to package up your applications and all their dependencies into one single portable unit. But what happens when you have hundreds of these containers? How do you manage all that? That's where Kubernetes comes in. You'll probably see it shortened to KS, that's K, then 8 letters, then an S. It is the industry standard for managing containers at a massive scale. And mastering it is, frankly, a non-negotiable skill for any modern DevOps engineer.
Now, pretty much all modern DevOps happens in the cloud. My best advice? Pick one of the big three, Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, or Google Cloud, and just go deep. As you can see from this table, they all offer pretty similar services for compute, CI/CD, and containers. They just have different names for them. The key here is not to get overwhelmed. Pick one, master it, get certified in it, and you will be incredibly valuable.
So your job isn't done just because the code is live. Not at all. You have to monitor it. This means keeping an eye on key metrics like CPU usage or how fast your app is responding with tools like Prometheus and Grafana. It also means you need to be able to search through all your application logs using something like the ELK stock to figure out what went wrong. And security. Security cannot be an afterthought. This is DevSecOps, baking security practices like scanning for vulnerabilities and managing secret passwords right into your pipelines from the start.
Okay, knowing all of this stuff is great, but you have to prove you can actually do it. So build real projects, deploy a web app, automate some infrastructure with Terraform, set up a full CI/CD pipeline from scratch. Then go and validate that experience with certifications that people actually respect, like the CKA for Kubernetes or an AWS DevOps certification. That combination, hands-on projects and official certs, that's the 1-2 punch that's going to get you hired.
So, you've followed the roadmap, you've put in the work. What's next? Let's take a look at what's waiting for you at the summit, your long-term career path. The path for growth here is really clear and it's fast. You can go from a junior role to a regular DevOps engineer in just a couple of years. Then you can move on to senior, or an architect's role, or maybe even a site reliability engineer, which is a super interesting, closely related role. And eventually, you could be leading entire teams as the head of DevOps. So if we pull this all together, what does the complete DevOps skills stack really look like for, say, 2025? Well, you've got your core skills, like Linux and Git. Then you have your automation layer, with things like Terraform and Jenkins. On top of that, you have containers and the cloud. And then, wrapping around everything, you have monitoring, security, and, please don't forget these, the crucial soft skills like collaboration and problem solving. Those are what really make you effective. Wow, we have covered a lot of ground. Now it's time to think about the journey ahead for you and how you can get started on your own adventure. You know, this quote really gets to the heart of everything we've talked about. The specific tools, they're going to change. But the philosophy, the mindset, that's what stays. It's about this relentless drive for continuous improvement. It's about automating everything you possibly can to help your teams move faster and deliver better software. That's the mindset. And really, that brings us to the end of our roadmap. The path is clear, the steps are all laid out, and the destination is an incredibly rewarding career. So the only question left is the one right here on the screen. What will you automate first?